Welcome to TFI Global. Recently, India joined Russia's military exercise Zapad-2025, and suddenly the Western media exploded with headlines. Modi sends troops against NATO. India crosses the red line. Delhi chooses Moscow over Washington. But here's the truth. India just sent 65 soldiers to a routine drill, one that even the United States itself observed. So why the hysteria? Why are media outlets painting a routine military exercise as a global showdown? And when you look past the noise and into the actual facts, the story looks very different. In this video, we'll break down what Zapad 2025 really is, why India joined, and how the media hype doesn't match the reality. First, let's set the stage. The word Zapad literally means West in Russian. These exercises are not new. They've been held every 4 years since the Soviet era, focusing on defensive operations, interoperability, and now modern tactics like drones and electronic warfare. Zapad 2025, held from September 12th to 16th, was one of the biggest in years. It involved around 1 lakh personnel. Spread across 41 training grounds in Russia and Belarus. The drills included repelling air raids, conducting land operations with drone support, simulating cruise missile strikes, and yes, even mock deployments of non-strategic nuclear weapons by Belarus. Russian President Vladimir Putin himself showed up in uniform on the final day, underscoring the significance for Moscow and Minsk. But here's the key. While the scenarios did simulate Western threats, they weren't really about attacking NATO. While the scenarios did simulate Western threats, they weren't literally about attacking NATO. Much like NATO's own exercises, Zapad is framed as defensive, preparing for contingencies, not declaring war. Now here's where the media distortions start. Zapad 2025 was not just Russia and Belarus standing alone against NATO, it was multilateral. So, many countries actively participated, including Russia and Belarus, India, Bangladesh, and Iran. On top of that, 23 other nations sent observers, and guess who was among them? NATO members like the United States, Turkey, and Hungary. So while headlines scream India joins Russia against NATO, the reality is that even NATO allies were inside the room, watching closely. This shows transparency, not confrontation. Let's get to the heart of it. India's role. India sent just 65 personnel, supported by small elements from the Air Force and Navy. Compare that to Zapad 2021, where India sent around 200 troops. So this year's presence was actually smaller. This wasn't India choosing Moscow over Washington. It was part of India's long tradition of military diplomacy. Every year, India participates in over 100 bilateral and multilateral exercises, with everyone from the US and France to Russia and Japan. For example, with the US, India runs Malabar and Tiger Trump. With Russia, it does Indra and Zapad. With China, it even participates in the SCO exercises. This is what India's strategic autonomy looks like, keeping relationships balanced without being tied to any one bloc. And let's not forget, Russia is a major defense supplier to India. So why the outrage? Western media outlets quickly spun India's participation as a slap in NATO's face. The Times of London said, India crossed the red line. The Financial Times quoted European Union officials calling it an awful timing. Some even warned India risked billions in contract with the West. Meanwhile, social media went wild, accused Modi of siding with Putin and betraying the US. See the pattern? The sensationalist headlines don't line up with the facts. The US itself observes Zapad 2025. Hungary, a NATO ally, sent a delegation too, and the exercise was defensive and multilateral, not anti-West. This outrage seems less about India's actual troops and more about agenda-driven narratives. So why single out India? Because India is the fourth largest military in the world after the US, Russia, and China, as per Firepower Index. India is a pivotal swing player in global geopolitics. Its choices matter. Delhi buys Russian oil, keeps military ties with Moscow, and at the same time deepens tech and defense cooperation with the West. This independence frustrates those who want India to pick a side, but India's whole strategy is multi-alignment, partnering with everyone without surrendering its autonomy. That's why Western outlets zeroed on India's 65 personnel while ignoring the presence of Bangladesh, even US and Hungary. At the end of the day, Zapad 2025 is not a war on NATO. It's not India betraying Washington. It's not a seismic shift in alliances or something like crossing a red line. It's a routine exercise, one of dozens that India participates in every year. The West's outrage is less about facts on the ground and more about amplifying the drama for clicks and political pressure. A user on social media said, India sends a handful of troops to multilateral exercises every year, including with Russia. This isn't against NATO. Even the US was there as an observer. And that's the takeaway. Sensationalism sells, but reality is much simpler. India continues to balance its ties with East and West, navigating a multipolar world on its own terms.